What's up, everybody? This is Information28 here.
What's up, everybody? It's I, Ken the Snake.
Hello, everyone. This is WingedArtist28.
Greetings, everyone. This is CC Trainor-Ling.
What's going on, everybody? It's James the Con Man!
And guys, we have a guest with us. Please introduce yourself.
Hi, everyone. This is Methid Man.
Alright, guys, so this is the review for Sister Story. So, the plot here is that Blythe's aunt, Mo, comes over to the pet shop, and she comes for a visit to visit her younger brother, Roger, and Blythe. And turns out they are very, very competitive, even when they were kids. And the subplot is that Vinny and Sunil make a wager to prove that who's better at predicting the future. So, my first positive, most people say Roger, but I kind of have to say Sunil and Vinny, because I did like their plot a lot. I thought their plot was pretty funny, but more or less, it also segued with the actual plot going on with Blythe and with Roger and Mo. Yeah. So Roger's definitely another one of my big positives, because me having an older brother and two little sisters, we used to be like that. Sometimes we still are, but not as much. So I can actually relate to this episode.
Yeah, me too.
I also have
an older brother, so that works.
I think anybody with siblings can relate with this pretty well. Yeah. Like, I have a younger brother myself, and even though we're not necessarily competitive, we do butt heads from time to time.
I think every sibling in the entire world has butt heads with their other sibling. Bigger,
I know
or
I
smaller.
do.
Yeah, because if you don't, then something's terribly wrong with you.
Yeah, you're too perfect.
It was nice to see him paired up with Mo as well. It was like seeing an episode with two Rogers, which kind of doubled on.
I'd also like to talk about Mo, too. This is the first episode we get to see a relative of Blythe, and it's her aunt, or Roger's sister. And I'd just like to say, as a behind-the-scenes spoiler, the League of Petshoppers have known about her since July. We weren't able to tell anyone until when this episode aired, but when we interviewed Michael Kopsa, he accidentally revealed a spoiler for a later episode that Blythe's aunt comes for a visit, and I love that. So the first line Mo said, I immediately recognized she was voiced by Tabitha St. Germain, because I noticed this unique twang in her accent that she'd done with Rarity in Simple Ways.
And Pepper, you can definitely hear the pepper in there.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
I know I was going through a lot of the comments on DeviantArt and Facebook, and a lot of the parts, there was one scene that was very common throughout those comments and Facebook stuff on DeviantArt as well, was the part when he's stretching and he bends over her.
Oh my god.
Oh my god.
That was disturbing.
It was so disturbing.
I have a positive. Well, one thing I actually liked is, I think the llama, near the third act, she was a pretty, nice, addition, to supporting, part, because, I mean, she actually has this, sort of Scandinavian type of accent, and she's even that honest, when Roger was gonna, ride on her, she just doesn't want him to, she would get angry if someone actually rides over him. So, and then it spends most of the time just trying to get Roger out of there, but no, just advance into a chase scene.
Yeah, chase scenes are fun to watch, at least for me.
Mm-hmm.
But I believe she had a Brazilian accent. I mean, aren't llamas South American?
Oh, okay, yeah.
So.
I also heard that.
I think that makes understandable, because llamas are Peru or somewhere around that, yeah.
Definitely sounded like a Brazilian accent to me.
I'd just like to go back to how this episode could relate to people, and I want to give my story. I am an older brother myself, so I feel the need to be better than my younger brother at most things I do, because I feel like I have more experience in life and more wisdom than him. And I think it's kind of like an inferiority complex with a brother and sister. Since you have to live most of your life with them, you learn too much about them, so you get competitive over the most simplest things, and you want to be better than them.
Yeah, I have brothers myself. Even though I don't really compete with them, I mean, I know how it feels sometimes. One thing I can say, though, I'm really glad that this plot didn't turn out the way I feared it would. I mean, a lot of sibling rivalry plots are usually very predictable. And, there's lots of cartoons that have just done it, in a really wrong way. Or at least in a really unentertaining way. So, I was pleasantly surprised that this came out better than I thought it would. So, that was a big plus for me.
Plus for me, too, just riding his coattails there a bit. Whenever there's a plot that you think that is gonna go a certain way, but then just completely blows your mind and does something different. I love that. That's a big positive I gotta give this episode too.
Methid, you wanted to talk about the chase scene?
Yeah, it was fun to watch. added a lot of action to the episode. And, you know, it was just fun watching Roger and Mo interact with each other while this was all going on. Sunil and Vinny doing their shenanigans. Vinny doing his stunt. You know, it was all fun to watch.
You may have liked the chase scene, but I didn't particularly like it. In which case, we can go right into the negatives.
Yeah, I agree with you.
There's one negative I can say about it. The chase scene, while it was fun to watch, it did drag on too long.
Definitely.
Yeah. I mean, it just went on like since the commercial break, and then it's like that's just like the rest of what it was. Just I mean, I don't mind like chase scenes, like as long as it's like done well. But it's just that it just feel like it's just starting to drag on with that sense, and even with also just how they're trying to work out with the sibling like resolution stuff. Yeah.
Yeah, my friend Phil pointed out that the chase scene took up nearly 5 minutes of the entire episode. So I also think it dragged on way too long. It also got really redundant after a while.
Mm-hmm.
I'm gonna have to jump on the chase scene was way too long bandwagon. I mean, most chase scenes I've seen are about a minute, 2 minutes tops. And in almost 5 minutes, that's kind of a bad thing.
So, it wasn't just the chase scene, though. I mean, a lot of things in the episode were a little bit stretched out. What this episode could have used was, a subplot. And there were some scenes here and there that could have been scrapped in favor of having a subplot that involved all the other pets.
Yeah.
That was what was also missing here. You know, not enough of the pets.
Yeah.
You know, they could have made time for them. You know, if they scrapped a few minutes here and there. Not just the chase scene, but lots of things, you know?
Yeah, I mean, cause, Mika makes a non-speaking, cameo, and then Russell was just there with a few lines just to watch the maggot, trick from Sunil, and then after that, when he says, and I'm done. He's not in there anymore, so.
Mm-hmm.
And, I mean,
At least we got a piece of buttercream. At least we got a little bit of buttercream in that episode.
Oh, yeah.
Oh, yeah.
The hat.
Yeah, even better. Pretty much Vinny and Sunil just like being there like as the B plot to support or just to go with the A plot for the matter. But I like to add another negative, and as much as I actually don't mind like sibling rivalry, I just feel like for me the sibling rivalry just went off the roof a bit too far. I get that they acknowledge that both Roger and Mo are actually like adults now, and they're trying like not to like get into combative nature. But I mean, saving for the fact that the whistling William Overture like gag was tolerable, the rest just like they just went out with them like in the cracks, and even the llama. I don't know. It's just that I just feel like it just like was weird and bizarre and just like and dragged on, and even with them doing their own like sort of like embarrassing like thing with Sue and Jasper, like, that was like weird, and I don't know, it's just I felt like there have been other things that may have done a bit better when it's get to a minimum, and that's like the Pine Twins from Gravity Falls. I thought their like their own like bonding was much better in that sense. So
I also think Sunil's and Vinny's betting was really old, or got pretty old towards the end of the episode. Because by then, any line they said, or at least I felt like it consisted of having a bet or on anything who will get it right or wrong. They didn't really say much else besides that.
Yeah, I mean, even like after when they actually made a statement that the fighting kept going on, like boring in Homer typical way, they just decided just do their own like betting of me just like jumping across to and back into the basket. Like, that was pointless. Like,
yeah. If I could, I also have a nitpick in this episode that I noticed. It kind of bothered me. But in the beginning of the episode, when Sunil and Vinny were watching Roger meditate, they had the bag of popcorn and they were eating from it without looking. And they were still not looking when Minka stole their bag and brought it up to the ceiling. I think it was in a tree. But the problem I have is Sunil accuses Vinny of eating the whole bag. I don't like that because the bag is nowhere to be seen at all. If you were to eat a whole bag, it would be an empty bag that you would see, not nothing.
Well, maybe she assumed it was just like one big chomp, chomp. And
A chomp to eat the whole paper bag.
Yeah.
You never know.
I mean, paper tastes of nothing. They have all the artificial butter in them. It just tastes like artificial butter.
Maybe.
I mean,
and need we remind everyone of Penny Ling eating the entire thing of popcorn in My Biggest Secret?
Yeah, I just said
that. That wasn't the bag.
Yeah.
Close to it.
Yeah, all she was missing was the bag. She had everything else eaten.
Yeah.
She probably would have eaten it later.
Save
We don't know her.
Save for dessert.
We don't even know her eating habits.
Yeah, she's a big eater.
One minor nitpick, I guess. Basically, was how the main plot was with Roger and Mo. Is that, yes, I know that I relate to it, as basically any siblings can relate to the episode, but to me, it kind of felt, I don't know. I wish they would have done a little better, trying to do more with their rivalry instead of spending 5 minutes doing a chase scene.
Yes.
That's so dangerous.
Yeah, I think this episode really needed a subplot because, some things were like you guys mentioned were getting a little bit redundant here and there.
It kind of intertwined.
Yeah. It did.
Well, it did have a bit of a subplot in the beginning, but yeah, it just kind of merged into one big one.
Yeah.
It should have just had like a
like that.
subplot from the very beginning involving the other pets.
Yeah, that's actually one of my other nitpick, is that aside from Sunil, Vinny, Russell, and Minka, no other, I don't know if you count the llama, but other than that, there were no pets present other than them.
Yeah.
Zoe,
No
Pepper,
Penny, no Pepper, no Zoe.
I know you weren't happy about that.
I wasn't.
I was not very pleased with that either.
Pepper.
Yeah.
Yeah, subplot with the other pets. That would have really helped this episode.
Yeah, that would have.
Okay, so overall, this was a fantastic episode, and I really don't have any least favorites in this series in this season so far. They've all been really solid for me. This one just lacked a little bit, to me, in my opinion. It wasn't as great as last week's episode. It was nowhere near as good as last week's. But since I'm a Roger fan, obviously, and a Sunil and Vinny fan, that really helped out. And Roger finally got plenty of screen time that he deserves and grounded, and the story was relatable, so I'm going to give this episode a 9.5 out of 10.
Like Sunil said, no Zoe, 0 out of 10.
Oh, wow.
Nah. But I love the llama and her voice. It was such a great accent to her voice, and it was voiced by Kathleen Barr. I love how we get to see how Sunil realistically talks in Roger's point of view, and his mongoose noises are so funny. They introduced subway trains at the end of this episode instead of just the subway. And since Downtown City is based off of New York City, I just have to wonder what train that is. Because they showed a sign showing a red circle to the left. But could that be a equivalent of a 1, 2, or 3 train in the New York subway system? Other than that, I quite enjoyed this episode. It was nowhere near as good as Pet Sounds, definitely. But I'll still rate this episode an 8.5 out of 10.
No, as for me, this is a pretty decent effort, to say the least, and the comedy is a strong suit, perhaps, and the llama's not bad here, so. Though, like I said, I have had issues with the sibling rivalry that dragged on throughout, and the lack of main pets to help solve it in a much better way. And some moments felt a bit bizarre and weird, but I'm glad I saw it. It's still okay, but, yeah, I'm glad I saw it, so. But, I'll just say this, though, Dipper and Mabel Pine are the best siblings, so far the way I saw, so. So my final score is 7 out of 10.
Now, even though there was a lack of pets in this episode, I still found this episode to be pretty enjoyable, mostly because of Roger. Just like what other people said, this is the first time since Grounded that Roger finally gets to have some really good screen time, and we finally know a bit more about him rather than him just being the father figure who's always there to help Blythe out. We finally know a bit of his history, and we see that there's more members of the Baxter family, so hey, if, people really wanted to see more family members in this series, well, you got it here. I also liked Aunt Mo. I mean, yeah, I know that between those two, there's the competition that's sort of like a bit childish for people their age, but me having an older brother, and we always try to outdo each other, even now, we still try to outdo each other, I can actually relate to it so much, and I think this episode played it off very, very well. The A plot and B plot intertwined so well, felt like it was only one plot. Enjoyed it immensely. But the one thing I really did not like about this episode was how the third act with Roger on the llama and Blythe and Mo chasing after him throughout the city, it definitely didn't need to be 7, 8 minutes. It definitely could have been maybe like 3.5 minutes at best, and then tried to resolve it a lot more quickly. I think besides that and the lack of pets, this episode was very, very good. I don't have too much to complain about, so I'm going to give this episode an 8 out of 10.
Alright then. So first of all, I'm going to echo the sentiment of Pets was definitely kind of a downer, and this was nowhere near as awesome as last week's, which I know I wasn't there last week. I had a lot of stuff to do. Managed to catch it over last week. But anyway. But, it's like they say, it was a tough act to follow. So I wasn't really expecting this one to be really the greatest thing since Super Sliced Bread. But honestly, it wasn't that bad. I mean, it was nice to see Roger get a little bit more screen time, especially since, if the shoe fits, which, I still love that episode. But anyway, so overall, aside from just the, lack pets and kind of the overdrawn chasing, I have to give this an 8.5.
When I heard this episode would have a sibling rivalry plot, I was worried it would turn out to be the kind of sibling rivalry I usually see in cartoons all too often. But I was pleasantly surprised that this episode handled it well, without resorting to cliches. Roger is still his usual fun self, and Mo is pretty much a female version of Roger, so it was like having two Rogers. We also get plenty of Sunil and Vinny, who always make a great duo. I like the llama character. The chase scene was fun to watch, even though it was a bit long. It added a lot of action to the episode. But this episode does lose some points, because of one negative. While we get plenty of Sunil and Vinny, the rest of the pets take a break from it. As fun as this episode was, there's plenty of scenes that could have been scrapped to make time for a subplot with the pets, and this episode could have really used that. Still, what we did get was pretty good, and there were a lot of things this episode could have done wrong that I was afraid it would do. It was also funny hearing Sunil talking to his animals. I'm gonna go with the score association meme that I've seen in some of the other videos, and use a video game-based scoring system. On a scale of 1 to 10, 10 being Psychonauts, and 1 being E.T. for Atari, I give this episode a score of Snatcher for Sega CD, or 8.8 out of 10.
Nice.
Well, that's a very odd rating system, but I'll take it.
Yeah,
I'll take it too. I'm a gamer, so.
That's all we have today. So this is Trainor-Ling.
I Can Snake.
WingedArtist28.
CC Trainor-Ling.
James the Con Man.
Sam the Method Man.
And Petshoppers.
Rip-off artist!
See you guys later.
I've been using that moniker for a while.
Yeah, but peace out.
Go find our best sibling.
Take care, everybody.
Meanwhile, at a farmer's market, yet somehow able to hear what everyone else is saying, even though he's not in the same place.
Hello, everybody. This is Downloads Bacon here at the farmer's market. Why not? Trying to get some of that fresh, good old apples and stuff. I can put me a picture of an apple right there, right beside my picture. Boom, right there. Delicious apples. And of course, I'm buying them from AJ. Nah, I'm just messing. Seriously, though, this episode is one that I might not say much compared to my usual stuff, but I still have stuff to say, and it's not as positive as previous, but it'll be better than other nitpicks and negatives, and some that surprised no one seems to have brought up. Kind of weird, if you ask me. Let's not waste any more time. Let's get started. Number 1. I don't know, something about the beginning of the episode seemed to bug me a bit. The idea that Roger would be upstairs in the pet shop by himself doing some meditation with music on while no one seems to be watching the shop. Kind of wondering where Mrs. Twomley is. It's a question that I seem to be the only one who asked and noticed here. Mrs. Twomley is nowhere to be seen in this episode, and neither is Zoe, Pepper, or Penny Ling, which I'm assuming she's using the pet shuttle to take care of them, but it doesn't seem like her to leave Roger alone with the store, especially since Roger isn't watching the pets or watching the register or basically anything. He's kind of just secluded himself upstairs. Number 2. The overall lesson to this episode really didn't stick to me, and I'm not 100% sure what it is exactly that this was. I don't know. That seems to be a little problem here. Number 3. There are some cringe-worthy moments. It could have been funny, but some moments were just kind of especially with Roger and Mo trying to be cool and high fives and wiggly fingers with Sue and Jasper. Yeah, that one was just a little odd. Trying too hard. But kind of funny, but somewhat... It kind of was a mixed result for me. Well, those take care of my negatives, since they are... 2 of them are actually part of my 13 things that you shouldn't do in anything. One having cringeworthy moments, and the other having a lesson that not sure what exactly it is. If you're gonna have a lesson, more or less, you have to kind of say it, or I need to know what it is. The negatives that were presented previous to my final thoughts were kind of odd compared to these. One of them being from Ekans about how Mika took the popcorn and Sunil blamed Vinny for eating the whole bag, even though the bag was not there. I'm not sure what that would qualify under, but yeah, I got nothing to say on that. Also, a lack of pets was mentioned. There's a few episodes where not all the pets will appear. Terriers and Tiaras only have 3 pets. which were, well, I know more appeared, but they were very little in the beginning, and then, well, they more or less had cameos, and then it was, the rest of the episode consisted of Zoe, Russell, and Minka, and the dogs at the pageant. I guess to wrap this up, the episode was very good. There are a lot of positives. I know mostly I've been just touching up on negatives, but I'll explain a bit. This episode was really good. The pets that were there were great. Buttercream, Minka, Russell even had a good moment. It was about Vinny and Sunil's friendship and more on focusing on Mo and Roger and their sibling rivalry, which I guess depends. I'm not really the hugest fan of it, but it's okay. So I'm going to give this episode an 8.75 out of 10. It's slightly shy of a 9 due to what I stated earlier. Seems a bit odd.